everybody. Welcome to the Special Charter Review Committee meeting. It is Monday, November 27th, 2023. It's 5 p.m. We are in the hearing room at One Government Center in Fall River, Massachusetts. Can I open up this meeting with the open meeting law statement, which I think my vice chair has memorized.
Send the
So
microphone.
I
Would you
would,
like me to recite it?
if you
Yes.
could, if Vice Chair Dan Robillard can do the open meeting law statement.
Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived by those present, and are deemed acknowledged and permissible.
Not a boy.
Thank you, Dan. If we could join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
before we go any further, could we observe a moment of silence for Happy Heck, who's been a legendary member of this community for better than, 60 years. He's been the voice of WSAR. He's been the foundation of that station. And let's just say mornings will never be the same.
That's Heck Gauthier, right? Gauthier?
Yes.
Okay. If we could observe a moment of silence for Happy Heck Gauthier. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Heck, for about 60 years of service to the community, isn't it? I think he's been in radio for over 60 years. With that said, attendance and the members present, starting with myself, Rena Brown,
Laura Washington.
Kathy Nemkovich.
Mimi Larrabee.
Tracy Almeida.
and members absent.
Dan Robillard.
Oh, Dan, I'm sorry. I'm bad. And our esteemed Vice Chair, Dan Robillard. Absent from tonight's meeting is John Mitchell, Paul Machado, Tim Campos, and Alan Rumsey. With that, we'll start out with public comment. Oh, no,
I have
wait
a
a minute,
motion.
just, go ahead.
I making a motion to end at 6 because I have a engagement at 6 and so does Ms. Nakovich, so we will not have a quorum. so.
Is there a second on the
Second.
motion?
Second.
And all in favor of
Aye.
ending
Aye.
at 6? And motion to end the meeting at 6 was made by Laura Washington, seconded by Dan, and unanimous. I'm taking votes and saying it as I write it. The September 25th, 2023 minutes were...
Motion to accept.
Motion to accept made
Second.
by Dan, seconded by
Mimi.
Mimi. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And public comment. On the agenda, public comment. Previously, Mr. Vincent submitted public comment, and we attached it to the agenda. It was about 24, 25 pages. We submitted them to all the members via email and a hard copy to the IT department at the City of Fall River for publication. And with that, Mr. Venice, did you want to just follow up with a verbal statement on the record?
Yeah, I'd like to explain that.
Can you just come up to the microphone and identify yourself,
You
please?
guys had it all and turned out my copy machine.
Yeah, I've got another copy. Hang on, let me pull out.
My name's August Venice, 25 Wrights Way, Fall River, Mass.
Hello, Mr. Venice.
Hi, how are you? I don't know how many, the last meeting that was, didn't have a quorum,
There was no,
There
there
was-
was no last meeting. We can't legally meet without a quorum.
Right.
We need to have that on the record clearly.
Yeah, no, we took attendance.
The last meeting that was scheduled,
The last meeting that was scheduled was November,
November 27th, I believe.
That's today.
it was November 21?
20. No,
November
today's November
20, that's right.
27.
The
November
last meeting
27th.
scheduled November 20th, there was no quorum, the meeting was opened and could not proceed.
Through the 13th. November 13th, there was.
November
no-
13th,
Yeah.
that's it. On
November
November
13th.
13th, we did not have a quorum, the meeting was open
Oh,
and
yeah, the
closed
school committee
after
night, right? School committee night.
the Pledge of Allegiance. But with that, public input is now open, and it'll only be limited to right now. So if there's stuff that you want to address, Mr. Venice, we would ask you to do it now.
You confused me. What do you mean by limited to right now?
It's as versus during the meeting.
Oh.
We'll just take public comment
Oh, no
now.
problem.
Thank you.
When I first spoke, at the first meeting that you guys had, I had 4 major issues. One was the recall language that had to be adjusted. I wanted a 4-year term for the mayor. The people holding 2 paid jobs, or 2 jobs, was an issue. And ward councilors.
And the what?
Ward
Oh,
councilors?
ward counselors, yeah, okay. Just trying to take some notes on your public input. Go ahead.
The list has grown to, I think we have to have some strong language for enforcement of the charter, because everything we collectively are doing here amounts to nothing. If the current situation stands the way it is, that nobody enforces the charter, nobody wants anything to do with the charter is a bunch of, unfortunately called toilet paper and what have you, that if nobody's going to enforce the charter, then you guys are just wasting your time. So, I think between now and the last meeting, we've got to come up with some language for enforcement of the charter. I also think that part of the problem in Fall River is ethics, and ethics language and conflict of interest. I think we need strong ethics language as a part of the charter. I know I've researched many of the charters, and they have ethics language. If you're looking at a charter, well, it's our charter, it's the old charter, but it's the charter, if you're looking at conflict of interest, it is weak. Really, there's no strong language. And I think the only thing it says of substance is that the city employees are considered city employees under whatever chapter it is in the conflict of interest law. I think we have to do something on diversity, get some language in there that, these committees that are being chosen and picked, I think we have to, go hand in hand, I guess, with the ward councilors, that there's got to be more diversity. Just look at the last elections. Look what's happened. Nobody's coming out. As far as I know, if we draw a line of 195, that divides the city, we've got 7 out of 9 councilors north of 195. I don't want to name names, but we got 1, 2, 3 that I call Meridian Street. Then you have Joe Camara, Brad Kilby. I think there's 7 out of 9 within a 3-mile radius of everybody. So I think it's time for ward councilors. I'll come up with something, for the next committee's meetings. But I think it's time. And like I said, diversity. That'll diversify things. Maybe if we have ward councilors, people can go to their ward councilor and be a little more local and start participating in government. I mean, to have a mayor win with only 6,000 votes, and he's a loser. Well, losing votes are losing votes, but he only got 4,000 votes. That's poor with 57,000 people. A couple of things that I had, section 2.3, the prohibitions that you people have received on paper. No member of the city council shall receive compensation for more than one municipal office or position of employee. This section shall not prohibit a city employee from holding the elected office of city councilor, nor in any way prohibit such employee from performing the duties of, it's my fan club calling in, or receiving the compensation for such office, provided, however, that no such elected city councilor shall receive compensation for more than one municipal office or position of employee, but shall have the right to choose which compensation he or she shall receive. That's right from state law. You know, and I don't know what happened, well, I don't know all the circumstances, but, you know, in the Hetzel situation, nobody ever stopped him from running. You know, he wasn't denied running in the election. A lot of times people are saying, oh, he wasn't allowed to run, people didn't want him to run. We didn't mind him running, but, you know, when he ran, then there was the conflict of the two jobs and how that was going to be handled. Then the next paragraph is the same what's in there. The next one is, this section shall not prevent a city employee who has been granted a leave of absence to serve as a member of the city council from returning to the same position upon the expiration of the term for which that person was elected. I think putting the granted a leave of absence is important because the way the charter reads now, it says something about going back to the job he left, which I think is kind of unfair. Because, you know, suppose you run for city council and you win. Well, you're a city employee, you run for city council and you win, then you're city councilor for 20-some years. Then you decide you don't want to be city council anymore. After 20-some years and somebody's sitting in your place for 20-some years, you want to go back and do it. I mean, if you do it, in parentheses, legally, and take a leave of absence, you know, then you have a right. I would say that would make it, you have a right to go back to your job, but just to say after 20 years, or 5 years, 6 years, whatever the amount of time is, I don't think that's necessarily right, so I changed that paragraph. And, you know, that's about it. So, and 2.3, and that would cover 2.3 and 4.3 for the school committee. And a whole bunch of,
I'm looking at your email and what Chairwoman printed out. You wanted to talk about 2.8?
yeah. As soon as I find it. For some reason I got a whole stack of 2.3s.
It's not bad.
All of these have been uploaded to the website.
Okay.
All right, I guess I made a Google. I picked up the wrong.
2.8 of the old current charter is appointments of the city council, subject to appropriation. The city council may employ staff as it deems necessary. That's 2.8 now.
That's 2.8 now.
Like current. 2.8 in the updated. Look at me all. 2.8 in the suggested updated is also appointments of the city council, subject to appropriation. City council may employ staff as it deems necessary.
I don't think we made any changes.
We didn't make any changes
We
to the
didn't.
appointments.
This is just the staff for the city council.
Correct.
office.
Right.
They have a clerk of committees and a vice clerk and whatever other staff they deem
Yeah,
appropriate.
we didn't make any changes to
All right, I'm
that.
sorry. I found it.
Which one is it?
2.8,
Yeah.
appointments of the city council.
Correct.
One of them is the city council solicitor.
We did not
They-
make any changes.
Um,
No, I know, I'm just listening, because okay, go ahead.
I know you didn't make any changes.
No, okay, go ahead,
That's why I'm
all right,
trying to
taking
convince you
notes.
to make the changes.
go ahead.
For years, the city council wanted a solicitor. They got one through ordinance. You know, you make an ordinance, you can always take it away, but if you put it in the charter, that's one of the appointments of the city council, then it's a lot harder to change a charter than it is an ordinance. So it might make some members of the city council happy that it's in the charter that they have a city solicitor. One of the things I also found in a lot of charters was the city council appointed the city auditor. Here, the mayor appoints the city auditor. Maybe it's time to look at, should the city council appoint the city auditor? We talked about forensic audits and various degrees of distrust of city figures or whatever you have, but if the city auditor comes under the control of the city council and is appointed by the city council, then the city council will have more access. I believe the city council will have more access to information and have somebody that's in charge of the finances, and it would act as more of a check and balance with the mayor instead of going to the mayor and, oh, you're not getting that, you're not getting that. Well, now you have your city auditor that you're hiring that said, give me that information that we want. So I think you should take a look at the city auditor. I don't know what they do in other towns. Sometimes it's the city clerk, the assistant to the city clerk, the clerk of the council, all the bureaus up on the front desk there. I don't know if they should be appointed by the city council or just leave it the same, but it would seem that, if they were assistant, the clerk of the council probably should be. Then the section F, other staff, the city may be established by ordinance, other staff positions, the salaries, they establish the salaries and they're responsible for removing or suspending the appointments that they make. So that, my recommendations is, get in the charter of the city council solicitor and the auditor at the least. Next one that was on the agenda was a city council confirmation of appointments. I remember the old days when people were up for appointment to various multiple member bodies and everything. They came to the city council meeting where they were when their appointment or approval was to take place. They sat in the audience. If the city council wanted to speak to them, they could. They'd be called up and were hopefully happy to answer any questions that were asked of them. And
So
there was input.
let me just rephrase, because I'm taking notes. So your suggestion is for these appointments to committees or commissions, that when there's an appointment candidate, so to speak, that they come before the council and be available for inquiry.
Well, I'm changing 210. Let me try and paraphrase what's here. The mayor shall refer to the city council and file with the city clerk the name of each person the mayor desires to appoint as a city officer, department head, or a member of a multiple body. The city council shall then refer each such name as submitted to it to a standing committee of the city council, which shall interview each such candidate for appointment and make a report with recommendations to the full city council not less than 7 days, no more than 21 days following such referral. The committee may require any person whose name is submitted to it to appear before the committee or before the city council and give such information relevant to such appointment as the committee or the council may require. I've been after this for a couple of years now, and nobody seems to want to do it, but it makes sense.
So, because I'm taking notes.
Madam Chair.
Your change is a suggestion to have
A standing committee of the city council.
a standing
to
committee?
Interview mayoral appointments and then make a recommendation to the city council, and then the city council can vote yes or no.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Just one brief comment. As a member of a commission right now that has to be approved by the city council, there's a lengthy process in place right now. We have to submit a resume, we have to submit documentation, and the city council right now can require any appointed person that's subject to a vote for confirmation to go before it right now. Now, that doesn't happen very often, but it's within their jurisdiction right now. So I think Mr. Venice has every right to go through every section of the charter and make 95 recommendations if he wants to. But this, I think, is a duplication. It would be more burdensome. It would hold up confirmations to boards and commissions. And personally, if this comes before me, I'm just going on record right now. I'm going to vehemently oppose it because I think it's a duplication of what takes place right now. It's too complex and it's unnecessary. Thank you, I yield.
And I certainly would concur because the language in it is that it does go before them, but there's other language in other parts of the charter that say the city council has the authority to summons anybody before them to answer any questions. And I think that catch-all, except for school department business, I think that catch-all, whether the city council wants to exercise the right to interview potential candidates for commissions or departments or all that, I think it's up to the council if they want to exercise that right. But there's language in the charter now that allows for the council to bring anybody before it.
And further, if I might just make one quick point. This idea of board and commission candidates being confirmed by the city council was something that I advocated for heavily in the last charter. I was happy to get it in. It's probably the only section of the current charter that I can actually say I like. But to go as far as he wants to go, I'm just putting everybody on record. We can have the discussion, but I will oppose it till the cows come home. And if it made it into the final report, I'm so opposed to it that I would oppose the whole final report if this goes in.
Well, the language now of section 210, city council confirmation of certain appointments, the language is this: the mayor shall refer to the city council and simultaneously file with the city clerk the name of each person the mayor desires to appoint as a city officer, department head, or as a member of a multi-member body. Appointments made by the mayor shall become effective on the 45th date after the notice of the proposed appointment was filled with the city clerk, unless approved or rejected by the city council within the 45 days. All individuals appointed to the multi-member body shall be residents of the city, and if an appointed individual removes, the city shall be immediately deemed vacate. So that language gives the city council already the jurisdiction to say, hey, listen, Dan Robelot, and the council president can tell the clerk, have Dan come down for this Tuesday meeting, and they can ask him anything they want, because there's another section in here in the same area, because Article 2 of the charter deals with the legislative branch, which is our city council. And it has in there the powers that they have, and it's delineated in there that they can have anybody come down. They have the authority to ask anybody, from the mayor's office to Dan, to come before them for inquiry. So I kind of echo your comments. To create another board that does this investigation and background check, I think is onerous. I think people would, and the other problem is, they have a hard time filling a lot of multi-member boards now.
So, Madam Chair, can I
Go
say
ahead.
something? I just want to say that Mr. Venice has provided us all with a copy of this. He's provided, we also are, now it's up on the website. So we don't have to debate that all here. We all have that information. I want him to be able to say what he has, explain why he has the rationale behind that, and we can choose to pick it up or not. So I thank you for all the diligent work, but we have all of that information. So if we choose to pick that up and go, but the explanation behind it is helpful of why you want that. I want to say, I'm reading it right now, and you also talked about your citizens' rights. I want to make sure that you discuss that while you're here, because you sent that packet and we have that. You have your citizens' right to place items on the agenda, and the citizens to call a special meeting to the council. That was a PDF that you had sent to us. I don't know if you wanted to discuss that here as well while you're sitting here. I yield.
Well, I was told I was not supposed to discuss anything that's not on the agenda, so. did you
No,
think
no,
that-
that's no-
Everything you sent in is on our agenda tonight.
Yeah.
Everything you sent in.
Everything we have
Yeah.
copies of is
Yeah.
on the agenda.
Everybody received it by email, the city posted it, and if they didn't, that's out of my hands, because I personally hand-delivered it to the IT
We
department.
talked about that last time.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just want you to feel, Mr. Venice, that you have been heard and that you will be heard and that everything that you put before us, you had a chance to give an explanation to. I yield.
Well, one of the comments I would have is that, this is public input, and I'm supposed to give the public input, and then you listen to what I say and then comment after, and not.
Well,
Yes.
we
interrupt the
can
process.
comment, we don't have to
But-
comment, but we want you to
but
have plenty of time.
I'm good with that. The next section that was on the thing was 913 felony conviction. An elected official or an officer or employee of the city or a member of any department, board, commission, or agency thereof who has been finally convicted of a state or federal felony for misconduct in such office or employment, or for misconduct in any elective or appointed office, trust, or other employment any time held by him shall be deemed to have vacated the position as of the date of the conviction. I think it's important that we have the term misconduct in office, because somewhere along the line there was a Michael Noella, was a city employee at Weights and Measures, and he was suspended for misuse of city property and what have you. He was granted the right to have a city vehicle, and he was using the city vehicle after hours. They suspended him, and ultimately he filed something with the Ethics Commission. The Ethics Commission said, well, it wasn't related to your job, drunk driving. It wasn't related to your job, and they had no right to suspend you, and he got his job back. So I would like to see the word misconduct in such office, or misconduct in any elected office, in there. I got section
me a favor, take that over from
9-14
the corner.
enforcement.
I'm sorry, can you
I
say
got
that?
section 9-14 enforcement of the charter provisions.
Uh-huh.
A little lengthy, but
Well, we received your suggestions,
Yeah.
and we did put, we changed enforcement of the charter. We put new suggested language in there. Our suggested language creates
I haven't seen
a,
that's not in any of the minutes of the meetings or anything. I haven't seen anything on this yet.
well, I don't know if the charter draft, again, everything submitted to the city and IT. How it makes it there is out of my control. I will certainly follow up with IT. Paul, our clerk is away, and I don't think he's back till December 6th. But I will make sure before the next January meeting, what we have as a draft is on the city website, and we get them regularly. What happens is, the clerk is taking notes, so these are kind of fluid documents. We do have a semi-updated draft, and in that updated draft is language about a charter grievance committee. We put language in it creating,
We did that a while
we
ago.
did it a while ago. So I'll tell you what we could do, if you want to revisit it, because, we have more meetings, more public input. In December, I will guarantee that whatever working draft we have now is up, And in our working draft, 914 has language that creates a grievance committee, 3-member grievance committee, one appointed by the mayor, one appointed by the city council, and one appointed by the school department. And their sole job is to investigate and report on any allegations of charter violations.
It's in the latest one.
It's in there.
That was
It's in the
done.
latest one,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's online.
I don't
Because
think you
Mr.
get it.
Venice doesn't
Oh, I
have,
see.
Doesn't get it, yeah.
that's what he's talking about, is that he didn't see
I know the
one.
last
Yeah,
meeting
there's a whole paragraph
last meeting I
in
went to, you talked about arbitration, I suggested arbitration and grievance, and you still have a form of grievance committee.
Yeah, so we did put language in there, but I'll tell you what, for that one,
If I get anything out of this, instead of grievance committee, charter compliance commission, or committee,
right,
I don't like the word,
you know,
Charter
like grievance.
yeah, right. I know that's what we talked about.
But it is in
Yeah,
there,
and it's
and
not too far
I
off
will
than
absolutely
what-
make sure
what I
that,
have.
that the website has a draft, because that's what I have called them. When I send out the emails, it's draft of the report and draft of the charter. And if it's not on the website, I'll make sure,
We're also working with 2 websites right now.
Yeah.
right,
They're in transition.
right.
Madam Chair.
Mm-hmm.
I caution that we go too depth into this without our secretary here.
Yeah, no, I'm
Because
taking
of
the
the
best notes I
Yeah,
can.
I think that we should hear it, Mr. Venice, but because the hearing that the draft is not even on the website, people are coming down with some of the changes that we already have made, and the secretary is not here. I caution how deep into this meeting we
Yeah,
go, and
no.
that we should,
Well, I know the clerk takes notes, and then he goes back, listens to the tape about 25 times, which must be fascinating for him to watch our meetings 25 times. But he does a great job of it. I'm taking notes now, the best I can, and I'll type them up and send them to him, but he'll kind of supplement it. But you're right, we can't get into it.
That's how
Too
we
much.
got such good notes at the last charter commission meeting, was reviewing the films.
Discussion of the charter grievance committee, Mr.
do.
Venice suggested language. Okay, go ahead, Mr.
All right,
Venice.
the last thing that I came prepared to talk about, and I talked about it numerous times, is recall. The draft charter that I've seen, or the draft recommendations, had recall provisions, and it ended that if the person is recalled, he shall be considered removed, period. And there was nothing after that.
Which section, Mr. Bennett?
I think it, I think it
Where is
was
it?
page
It's
21 of the draft charter.
So, section 8-5 of our draft,
And that draft is old by now.
it talks about a recall petition and a recall election.
The chair gave a very good explanation of this last week on WSAR, which I can't recite right now, but that was a very good show.
I try, and I was working without notes too, but we do have suggestions. Our draft calls for 2, potentially 2. We simplified the language of the question. We thought that was confusing.
Potentially two what, ma'am?
2 elections. So one will be, if 10 registered voters that are residents of the city want to petition for a recall, they get their signatures, they present it, and it's titled a recall petition. That recall petition will then be submitted to the city clerk, and after it goes through the process, the elections department will schedule an election. It's not an election, it's a recall.
I'm
It's
fine-
really a
I'm fine
recall
with the
election.
I mean, I got nothing wrong with the recall election,
It's only gonna be the recall, though. It's gonna be yes or
You want to recall
no.
Joe Blow, yes or no?
And then,
I'm fine with that election.
and then we
But then
refer,
to turn, can I finish?
yep,
Then to turn around and immediately have an election to find a replacement.
We don't have a bottom ballot.
we don't have a bottom ballot on that. We have a separate election.
I understand that. To have another, to vote somebody out and then give them an opportunity to run again to get voted back in.
They can't go on that ballot
He's not
until the
running on that
regular
ballot.
election.
Well,
They can't be on the recall ballot. They can only run for that office at the next,
2 years later.
2 years later. Can't prevent them from ever running again. It's against the law. It's unconstitutional.
I'm not trying to prevent them from running again.
But they can't, their name will not be on the recall election ballot.
They will
Yeah, but
not
the
be.
recall election ballot is only the yes or no.
Then there's another election later.
When we have the next election, if it's yes.
I just want to, I just want to,
Stress.
I just want to skip that first next election. You know, if he wants to run 2 years down the road for mayor again, all well and good. He's got every right in the world. But it's ridiculous to have a recall election to say 6,000 people don't want you, and then you get, then you run in an election and you get back.
Whoever-
The last, let me finish, I mean, it is public input.
No, go ahead.
The last I knew, and I
Doesn't
lost
want
my
the next
train of thought.
election.
The last I knew was, what I knew. The person being recalled, I don't think should be allowed to. The people already spoke. They spoke, they said, we don't want you as our mayor. We don't want you as our mayor. Get out. And they voted overwhelmingly to get that person out. And they probably did so in the last one with Flanagan too. But,
We corrected it.
you know, and, you know, the people voted. Now, we want to give them another chance. Let me finish. My thoughts getting back to me. What I'm saying is go back to the language that I know you people don't like, but I'm having my say, to have the city council president fill that gap for the rest of the year. Now, we've had one city council president fill in for a certain situation for the mayor last time around, and he performed okay. There wasn't any substantial problems. And one of the gaps that I find now in the recall language, whoever recall language you want to use, is that you have that first recall language, okay, you're out, and then the language that there's a disparity in the language. The recall language says you have an election for a successor. I call it a replacement. I don't like the word successor. Within 65 days. Well, then the other language for a special election, that you want to have a special election to elect somebody that's been recalled, and the special election language says special call election within 90 days. So there's a conflict between the 65 and the 90. So, that's got to be resolved. And then there's no resolution as to who is mayor. The guy has a recall election, he's elected out, and the last words of the current language that you people are proposing is he is removed. So we no longer have a mayor. Well, who's going to be mayor between the day of that mayor being removed and the election either 65 or 90 days after? There's a gap there, 2 or 3 months. And if you're going to have the city council president fill that gap with 65 days or 90 days, why not just let him do the whole thing? You're going to take a man out of the city council president's seat and put him in a position for 65 days or 90 days, and then say, okay, thank you, and then you're going to run an election for the mayor. And rightfully so, and I'm in agreement with it, you want a preliminary election, and you want a final election. So, the cost of elections to the city is about $50,000 to run an election, from what I'm told. So you want to spend $100,000 not to have the city council president, be mayor. But I hear continuous complaints of how the consultants cost the city $40,000, but you guys want to spend $100,000 in this case. Mm-hmm. And then that $100,000 will repeat itself every 2 years from then on. If you have the city council president come in, then there's no election.
Okay.
We can't have another election. We can't go through the embarrassment of having that person that we just 6,500 votes said, no, we don't want you, and then for a fluke, get reelected again. We
No.
cannot have an election to have that guy run again. I'm
Is there
sorry.
any, is there any other,
What?
any
Old
other,
woman.
any other, other than the recall and I took notes and the clerk will go through the minutes, is there anything else in your, public input documents that you want to discuss? Because,
I didn't bring them with me tonight.
Okay.
I thought you asked me to bring what I submitted in the public comments.
yeah, I mean, is there anything else?
What I got off the internet was those 4 that really dealt with the city council. I
Okay.
didn't do the others. There were other sections of the charter that,
Well, we'll have more meetings
you know,
too,
I
so,
think the enforcement of the charter, ethics
Yep.
language,
yep, we got it.
I mean, I mean, I'm serious when I say this. We've got to do something with the charter, and the people in the city of Fall River have to understand that this is the charter, and the elected officials have to understand this is our charter, this is what we proposed, and we have to follow it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And if it says
So-
the mayor shall do this, and you bring it up, and says, we don't like that, we're not gonna follow it, well, that's not your choice to make.
I understand that you put a lot of work in the documents you sent us, and I don't want you to not have an opportunity to address them all. But this meeting is over at 6, and I'm gonna ask you to reserve the rest of your public comment for our next
You
meeting.
know,
I mean,
I
you
brought what I
gave,
brought,
I got
recall like the last one.
the 4 major issues: recall, 4-year term, paid position, ward counselors, and I've taken copious notes, and the clerk will go
The
through
4-year
it.
term, the last time I checked through all the minutes that Paul has on the website, the 4-year term was tabled. So, consider
other
that
than
still
that-
out there.
Other than that, anything else?
Yeah, I have other issues, but that's not,
For tonight?
yeah, no.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Venner.
Thank you, Mr. Venice. And I just want to say that I went through the notes that I made, and I didn't mark where we left off. Because I know that the draft he sent us, the last one that this committee has, I didn't get an update after that September meeting. Because the last time that we really went in and did stuff was that September meeting. I don't have the draft after that. So what I would like to do is, I'll get on Paul, I can't get on him till after
Right.
December 6th, and I don't mean literally, I mean, you know, on the email, get on. To send us the post-September 25th draft. Because that's the one that would be the most updated. The very last time that we went through this line by line, you know, because there were typos.
Was September, right?
Right, was September. So I think one of the things is, before we go any further tonight, I hope you're all in concurrence that we need the post-September 25th draft. So what I would like to do is,
Yes.
well, I wanted, one more thing before we adjourn. Save 2 minutes. One, the next 2 meetings that are scheduled in the hearing room are January 22nd and January 29th.
Yep.
Everybody have that? January 22nd, January
my phone.
29th. I guarantee before January 22nd, we will have we need the post 9/25 drafts of both, the report and the charter. But I did want to run this by my fellow members while I have a quorum. I know that the last charter commission went and got a substantial amount of money for a company to review this. I wanted to make the suggestion that although everybody has levels of education, that we at least get a few $100s to have an English professor review our document just for grammatical, syntax, capitalization. I just wanted to run that by the committee, what your thoughts were. I don't propose hiring a company to the tune of thousands of dollars, but I'm a stickler for, you know, the English language, and that's grammar, syntax, sentence structure. we all agreed that the charter is wordy, where 4 lawyers thought, I don't even know what those words mean. I wanted to propose that maybe as members, we have a member in the educational community, that we pay, a professor or somebody that is educated beyond us in just that area.
There are professional editors. We also have a graduate program in professional writing. So graduate students that are in master's programs maybe.
For free?
Yeah,
Or-
well, for a nominal fee, I mean, I don't doubt that if we needed a nominal amount of money to have somebody review it,
Yeah.
just in that area, I think it'd be beneficial to the clerk, it'll be beneficial to us, we'll have a very professional, grammatically correct document.
I think that's a great
I would
idea.
propose a grad student, usually,
I-
I don't know what their hourly
Yeah.
wages. They're more accessible than a college professor would be. And, studying,
You think that's something you wouldn't mind taking on?
yeah, I can do that.
All right. So, and then maybe you can report back to us, graduate student at, 20 hours, at whatever, whatever,
Do you have a set number of hours that you'd be willing to pay?
No, we'll go to them. I'm not worried about, funding. I mean, because if they say no to $500, we're gonna yell at them about the 40,000 they spent. Not that I'm gonna blackmail anybody, and I'm not pointing at you, because I know you objected.
Hey, I'm gonna
You
tell
just,
you.
you just pointed to him.
I did.
No, she didn't. I wouldn't have given the common sense of 1 penny.
Can I make a motion to adjourn because we
Now,
don't have-
Ken, yep, let's get this party started. Thank you, Tracy.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
All righty, I'll see you.